She returned from abroad with a tailored coat, a black suitcase, and enough money to finally give her mother the life she deserved. But before her car reached the house she had paid for every month, traffic slowed beneath a bridge in downtown Philadelphia. There, between a soup line and a row of tents, a gray-haired woman bent over a plastic basin, washing donated cups for coins. Her shoes were split, her hands shook, and when Serena saw the small scar near the woman's wrist, her whole body went cold. The homeless mother under the bridge was hers. Welcome to today's story. If you enjoy emotional drama and shocking twists, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And before we begin, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. But years before that terrible afternoon, Serena Cole had believed her family was finally being saved. It started with an email. Serena was sitting at the small kitchen table in her apartment in South Philadelphia, still wearing the navy blazer from her bank job, when the message appeared on her laptop. University College London. Finance and global markets. Partial scholarship approved. For a moment she did not breathe. She read the subject line once, then again. Then she pressed both hands over her mouth, because if she made a sound too quickly, the whole thing might disappear. Across the room, Adrian Vale looked up from the couch. "What is it?" Serena turned the laptop toward him. Her eyes were already wet. "I got in." Adrian stood slowly. Serena laughed through the tears. "I got in, Adrian. London. The master's program. The one I told you about." He came over and put one hand on her shoulder. His smile appeared a second late, but Serena was too overwhelmed to notice. "That's big," he said. "That's really big." "It's a partial scholarship," she said, scrolling fast. "Tuition is covered halfway, but I still need the deposit, visa fees, housing, the flight, proof of funds." Her voice faded. The joy in the room thinned. Adrian leaned closer and looked at the numbers. He was quiet for too long. "That's a lot of money, Serena." "I know. You have savings?" "Some. Not enough." He nodded slowly, his eyes still on the screen. Not on her face, on the amounts, on the deadlines, on the account instructions. Serena closed the laptop halfway. "I'll figure it out." "You always say that," he said gently. "But this isn't a weekend bill. This is international money. Transfers, bank statements, documents. Somebody has to manage things properly." Before Serena could answer, her phone rang. "Mom." Serena picked up before the second ring. "Mama," she said, and her voice broke. Marlene Cole knew that sound immediately. "What happened, baby?" Serena tried to speak, but all the hope and fear came out tangled. She told her about London, the scholarship, the money, the deadline. On the other end, Marlene went quiet. Not cold quiet, thinking quiet. Marlene had owned Cole's Laundry on a narrow street in South Philadelphia for almost 20 years. It was not fancy. 2 washers were always acting up. The ceiling had a brown water stain that never fully went away. The neon sign blinked whenever it rained, but it was hers. People knew her there. Nurses came after night shifts. Restaurant workers came with grease-stained uniforms. Older tenants came with folded sheets and neighborhood gossip. Marlene had built that place one load at a time. Finally, she said, "Come by tomorrow morning." "Mama, no. I'm not asking you to fix this." I said, "Come by tomorrow." Adrian watched Serena hang up. "She wants us to come over," he asked. Serena nodded. His expression softened again, but his fingers tapped once against the back of the chair. "Good," he said. "We should know exactly what she has. Accounts, retirement, property papers, business documents. Just so nobody makes mistakes." Serena frowned a little. "Adrian, she's not a company, I know that." He touched her hand. "I'm trying to protect both of you." The next morning, Marlene opened the laundry before sunrise. By the time Serena and Adrian arrived, the dryers were already turning. Warm air filled the room. Soap, steam, old linoleum, and coffee from the paper cup Marlene always forgot to finish. Marlene was behind the counter, wearing her faded green cardigan. Her hair was pinned back. Her hands were rough from years of bleach and hot water. She smiled when she saw Serena. Then she looked at Adrian. "Good morning, son." "Morning, Marlene," he said, too smooth, too polite. Marlene reached beneath the counter and pulled out a manila folder. Serena's smile faded. "Mama, what is that?" "My numbers." "Mama, listen to me." Marlene laid the folder on the counter. "You got a door opened for you. Doors like that don't stay open forever. I can defer." "No." Marlene's voice was soft, but it did not move. "You are not shrinking your life because I'm afraid to let go of mine." Serena looked down at the folder. There were bank letters, a retirement statement, a copy of the laundry lease, a rough estimate from a broker who had offered to find a buyer for the business. Her chest tightened. "You're not selling the laundry." Marlene gave a small, tired smile. "It's a business, Serena. Not my soul, it's everything you built." "No," Marlene said, "you are." Adrian stepped closer. His eyes moved across the papers, slowly, carefully. "This could work," he said. Serena looked at him. "What? I mean, if it's handled right, the sale, the transfer, the overseas proof of funds. Later, when Serena starts sending money back, it should probably come through one account. Easier for bills, easier for taking care of you, Marlene." Marlene did not answer right away. Serena wiped her face. "We don't have to decide everything now." But Adrian had already picked up one of the bank letters. "What's the login for this account?" he asked casually. "Just so I can help organize." The dryers kept turning behind them. Marlene slowly placed her hand over the folder, and for the first time that morning, the warmth inside the laundry room felt a little colder. Still, a week later, Marlene sat at Serena's kitchen table and placed the first sale papers down beside a thick envelope of cash. Serena stared at it like it was too heavy to touch. Adrian did not. His eyes settled on the envelope and stayed there just a little too long. Marlene did not sleep much after that. She lay awake in the small spare room of Serena and Adrian's apartment, listening to the pipes knock inside the walls and the traffic drag itself along the street outside. The envelope of money was no longer in her hands. Serena had put it in a drawer. Adrian had said it would be safer there until the bank opened. Safer. That word stayed with Marlene all night. By morning, she was already dressed. She wore the same green cardigan, buttoned carefully, and the black shoes she usually saved for church meetings and appointments at the bank. Serena found her in the kitchen before sunrise, standing by the counter with a cup of coffee she had not touched. "Mama, you don't have to go through with this today," Serena said. Marlene looked at her daughter for a long moment. Serena's eyes were red. She had been crying again, quietly this time, the way grown daughters cried when they did not want their mothers to hear. "That school gave you a deadline," Marlene said. "Life does not wait because we feel guilty." "It's not guilt, it's fear." Marlene reached out and smoothed the front of Serena's blouse. It was an old habit, one Serena had never outgrown. Then let fear ride in the back seat. It does not get to drive. Adrian came in a few minutes later wearing a pressed shirt and a careful expression. He carried a folder under one arm and moved like a man who had already made himself useful before anyone asked. "I called the broker," he said. "He can meet us at the laundry this morning. If Marlene is serious, he thinks he has a buyer who can close fast." Serena turned to him. "You called him already?" Adrian paused, then smiled softly. "I was trying to help. Time matters, right?" Marlene watched the two of them. Serena looked hurt, but also tired. Adrian looked calm, almost too calm. He had always been polite to Marlene. He carried grocery bags when she visited. He fixed the loose handle on her back door once without being asked. He called her mom in public and Marlene at home. There were worse sons-in-law in the world. That was what she told herself. At the laundry, the morning rush had already begun. 2 adult regulars were folding uniforms near the back. A nurse from the night shift nodded at Marlene and said she would miss her if the rumors were true. Marlene smiled like her heart was not pulling itself apart. The broker arrived in a grey coat, carrying a leather portfolio and an apology already written across his face. He explained the offer. It was lower than Marlene deserved. Everyone in the room knew that. The equipment was old. The lease was complicated. The buyer wanted a discount because the sale had to happen quickly. Serena stood near the counter, arms crossed tight against her chest. "That is too low," she said. "It is," Marlene admitted. "Then we walk away." Marlene shook her head. "And do what? Wait for a better buyer while your deadline passes? I can defer, you said that already." Marlene turned to her. "And I heard you, but I am still your mother." The broker looked down at his papers. Adrian stayed quiet, but his eyes kept moving, from the offer sheet to the account line, from the account line to Marlene's signature, from Marlene's signature to Serena's face. Finally, Marlene signed the first agreement, not the final sale, not yet, just the acceptance of terms. But the pen still felt heavy enough to break her hand. Afterward, she walked alone to the back room. The little office was hardly an office at all. A metal desk, a file cabinet, a calendar from the previous year that she had never bothered to replace. On the shelf sat a chipped mug full of pens and an old framed certificate from the city, recognizing small business owners in the neighborhood. Marlene took it down. For almost 20 years she had unlocked that door before sunrise. She had fixed machines with pliers and patience. She had argued with landlords. She had given credit to people who needed clean clothes for job interviews. She had kept going through slow seasons, burst pipes, rent increases, and loneliness. Now the business that had held her life together was being turned into a number on a page. Serena stepped into the doorway. "Mama." Marlene did not turn around right away. "I thought I would feel proud," she said quietly. "Maybe lighter. What do you feel?" Marlene looked at the certificate in her hands. "Like I am handing over a house key to a life I survived." Serena crossed the room and held her from behind. Neither of them spoke for a while. The dryers turned outside the office. The machines kept working because machines did not know when something was ending. Later that afternoon, Michael Reeves met Serena at a coffee shop near City Hall. Adrian had offered to come, but Serena told him she needed to breathe. He did not argue, though his mouth tightened for half a second before he smiled. Michael arrived in a dark non-profit hoodie with a stack of folders under his arm. He had known Serena since their early 20s, when they both volunteered at a tax clinic for low-income adults. He worked now for Harbor Path Outreach, helping unhoused adults navigate shelters, medical referrals, identification documents, and benefits applications. He hugged Serena and immediately saw the strain on her face. "You look like somebody made a dream feel like a crime," he said. Serena laughed once, but it came out broken. "My mom is selling the laundry." Michael's expression changed. "For London?" Serena nodded. He sat back, quiet for a moment. "That is a lot. She wants to. I tried to stop her. I believe you." Michael opened one of his folders and pulled out a blank notepad. "Then do me a favor. Protect the sacrifice. Don't let it become messy." "What does that mean?" "It means paper. Copies, limited authorization, separate accounts. No signing blank forms, no full access unless it is absolutely necessary." He leaned forward. "When families get desperate, people start using trust as a shortcut. That is how vulnerable adults get hurt." Serena stiffened a little. "Adrian is helping. I'm not accusing Adrian. But," Michael lowered his voice, "but love and access are not the same thing. If your mom is selling a business, moving homes and handing over account information, she needs her own paper trail. She needs copies. You need copies. Everyone needs clear boundaries." Serena looked down at the table. She wanted to defend Adrian immediately. That instinct scared her a little. Not because she thought Michael was right. Because she knew she did not want him to be. "My mom trusts him," she said. "Then good," Michael said gently. "Honest people don't mind clean paperwork." That sentence stayed with Serena the whole way home. When she returned, Adrian was at the kitchen table with Marlene. The manila folder was open between them. Marlene's bank statement lay on top. Beside it sat a small box Serena recognized from her mother's house. It held old letters, property records, the laundry lease, insurance papers, retirement statements, and the deed to Marlene's small row home. Serena stopped at the doorway. "What's all this?" Adrian looked up. "Your mom brought her documents. I told her we should keep everything together until you leave." Marlene smiled, tired but trusting. "It is easier, baby. I do not want you worrying from overseas." Serena walked closer and touched the edge of the deed. "Mama, you should keep this. I will. It is only here for now." Adrian reached for the box, then stopped when Serena did not move her hand away. "I can put it in our closet," he said. Less chance of it getting misplaced. Serena thought of Michael. "Honest people don't mind clean paperwork. I'll scan everything first," she said. Adrian's smile held, but something behind it tightened. "Of course," he said. "That makes sense." Marlene patted Serena's hand. "See, we are doing this properly." For the next hour they sorted papers. Serena scanned what she could with an app on her phone. Adrian watched more than he helped. When Marlene went to the bathroom, his tone changed. "Michael got in your head, didn't he?" Serena looked up. "What? You met him today, yes. And now suddenly I look suspicious because I'm trying to help your mother." "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." He pushed back from the table, hurt settling across his face like a coat he had chosen to wear. "I'm your husband, Serena. If you can't trust me with paperwork, how are you going to trust me to take care of Marlene when you're gone?" That hit exactly where he wanted it to. Serena's face softened. "Adrian, I do trust you." He looked away. Feels like you trust everybody except the man staying here to hold things together. Marlene returned then, moving slowly, one hand at her lower back. She looked between them and immediately understood there had been tension, though not why. No arguing because of me, she said. Serena swallowed the rest of her doubt. That evening, Marlene placed the box of documents on the table and pushed it toward Adrian. Keep it safe for now, she said. Just until Serena travels and we know what comes next. Adrian took the box with both hands. His voice was warm. I'll guard it like it's mine, Serena tried to smile. But before Adrian closed the lid, she saw his thumb slide across the deed to Marlene's house, slow, possessive, like he was not reading a paper, like he was touching a door he already planned to open. Serena left for London on a wet Tuesday morning. Philadelphia was grey when they reached the airport, the kind of grey that made everything feel unfinished. Marlene stood beside Serena at the curb, holding her daughter's coat sleeve like she was afraid a stronger wind might take her away too soon. Adrian stood behind them with Serena's suitcase, checking his phone every few minutes. The goodbye was quieter than Serena expected. She had imagined crying. She had imagined Marlene praying over her, maybe embarrassing her a little in front of strangers. But when the moment came, Marlene only fixed Serena's scarf and looked at her face like she was trying to memorize it. Call me when you land, Marlene said. I will, and eat properly. I will, and do not make yourself small over there, you hear me? That almost broke Serena. She nodded fast because if she spoke, she would fall apart right there. Adrian stepped closer and placed a hand on Serena's back. I'll take care of her, he said. Marlene looked at him. She smiled, but it was a tired smile. I am trusting you with the most important part of me. Adrian touched his chest like the words moved him. You have my word. Serena hugged her mother one last time. Marlene smelled like laundry soap, coffee, and the lavender lotion she bought from the discount pharmacy near the old shop. That smell followed Serena all the way through security. When the plane lifted into the clouds, Serena pressed her forehead to the window and cried without making a sound. London was cold in a different way, not the hard street corner cold of Philadelphia. This cold felt damp and patient. It slipped through coats and under doors. It followed Serena into the student housing she could barely afford and sat with her in the small room where the radiator clicked all night. The program was harder than she expected. Her classmates spoke in polished accents and used words that made money sound clean, distant, almost holy. Serena worked twice as hard just to feel like she belonged in the room. She studied at dawn. She took shifts at the university finance office. She ate cheap sandwiches, saved bus fare when she could, and kept a folded photo of Marlene inside her desk drawer. Every Sunday she called home. At first, those calls kept her alive. Marlene would appear on the screen from Serena and Adrian's apartment, sitting at the kitchen table with a mug in front of her. Adrian was usually nearby, sometimes washing dishes, sometimes leaning against the counter, always close enough to hear. You look tired, Mama, Serena said during the first month. I look grown, Marlene answered, smiling. There is a difference. Serena laughed, relieved. Adrian stepped into frame then. She's doing fine. I made sure she got her blood pressure refill yesterday, Marlene nodded. He did. He drove me himself. Serena felt her chest soften. Maybe Michael had worried too much. Maybe fear had made everything look sharper than it was. Maybe family could still be trusted. In the second month, Serena sent her first real transfer from London. It was not much, but it was enough to help with Marlene's expenses. Adrian texted her a photo of a grocery receipt, a pharmacy bag, and Marlene sitting at the table with a covered plate in front of her. See, he wrote. I told you I've got her, Serena cried when she saw it. Not from sadness this time, from gratitude. By the third month, the calls started to change. Marlene was still there, but less. Sometimes Adrian answered alone and said she was resting. Sometimes he said she had gone to lie down because talking to Serena made her emotional. Once, when Serena insisted on seeing her mother, Adrian carried the phone down the hallway and opened the spare room door just enough for Serena to see Marlene turned away under a blanket. She finally fell asleep, he whispered. Don't wake her. She had a hard morning. Serena lowered her voice. Is she sick? No. Just anxious. You know how she gets. She misses you too much. Serena did know her mother missed her. That was the problem. The knowledge made it easier to believe him. A week later, Marlene stopped appearing on video altogether. The messages still came from her number. I am proud of you, baby. Eat well, do not worry about me. But something about them felt different, shorter, cleaner. Marlene used to write like she talked, with extra commas, little blessings and words that wandered. These messages sounded careful, like someone trying to imitate warmth without knowing where to put it. Serena stared at one of them late at night in her London room. Love you, Mom, she typed. The reply came almost instantly. Love you too. No, baby, no, my girl. No, I'm praying for you. Just love you too, Serena called. The phone rang twice, then went to voicemail. The next day, she asked Adrian about it. He sighed before answering, the kind of sigh that made her feel guilty before he even spoke. Serena, I didn't want to tell you like this. Her stomach tightened. Tell me what? She's been having these episodes. Not dangerous, just emotional. She gets overwhelmed. She keeps saying if she talks to you, she'll beg you to come home, and she doesn't want to ruin your future. Serena sat down slowly on the edge of her bed. She said that? Yes, Adrian's voice softened. She loves you, that's why this is hard. Put her on. Not today. Adrian, Serena, I'm the one here. I'm telling you what's best for her right now. The words landed badly. He heard it too, because he quickly changed his tone. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I'm handling work, bills, her moods, the apartment, everything. I just need you to trust me. There it was again. Trust. Serena closed her eyes. Okay. After that, she stopped pushing as hard. Not because she cared less, because every time she pushed, Adrian made her feel like she was hurting Marlene from across an ocean. Still, Serena tried to reach around him. One afternoon after class, she called Michael in Philadelphia. He answered from what sounded like a busy outreach office. Serena, he said. Everything okay? I need a favor. His voice changed. What kind? Can you check on my mom? Just casually, maybe drop by Adrian's apartment. There was a pause. I can, Michael said. But will Adrian know I'm coming? No, I'd rather he didn't. That says a lot, I know. Michael went by 2 days later. Adrian called Serena before Michael could. His voice was controlled, but there was anger underneath it. You sent someone to my home? Serena froze. Michael is my friend. He showed up asking for your mother like I'm some kind of criminal. He works nearby. I just thought, no, Adrian cut in. You didn't think. You let somebody disrespect me in my own home. Did he see her? She was not feeling well, Serena, and now she is more upset because some stranger came asking questions. He's not a stranger. To me, he is. Serena gripped the phone. I just wanted to know she was okay, and I've been telling you she is. Silence stretched between them. Then Adrian said the thing that found the weakest place in her. If you don't trust me, come home. Give up London. Come back and handle everything yourself. Serena looked around her tiny room. The notes on her desk, the tuition schedule, the scholarship letter pinned to the wall. Her mother's sacrifice pressed against her chest like a stone. I can't, she whispered. I know, Adrian said. That's why I'm here. After that, Michael sent Serena a short message. He wouldn't let me in. Said your mom was sleeping. Something felt off. Serena read it again and again. Then another message arrived from Marlene's number. Baby, please don't send people. It makes me feel ashamed. I am fine. Focus on school. Serena stared at the word baby. For 1 second, relief came. Then unease followed, because it felt placed there, added after someone remembered it was missing. Months passed. Serena worked harder. She sent more money. Adrian sent photos in return. A pharmacy bag. A new blanket. A clean kitchen counter. Once he sent a picture of a storefront with a paper sign in the window. Potential space for Marlene's new laundry, he wrote. With enough support, we can rebuild her dream. Serena sent almost everything she had saved. She did not know that the storefront had only been rented for 1 afternoon. She did not know that Marlene never saw the blanket, never saw the pharmacy bag, never saw the messages sent in her name. And she did not know that back in Philadelphia, Marlene stood one evening inside a corner grocery store, holding the owner's landline with shaking hands, trying to call the only person who might still hear her. The phone rang once, just once, then the line went dead. Across town, Adrian looked down at the blocked number on his second phone and smiled without warmth. Marlene noticed the first real change on a Thursday afternoon. It was small enough that someone else might have missed it. A letter from the bank should have come that week. It always came around in the same time, in the same white envelope, with her name printed in the little window and the address of her row home beneath it. Even after she moved in with Serena and Adrian, she had kept that address active. It was still her house, still her name on the deed, still the place she intended to return to when Serena finished school and life settled down. But the letter did not come. At first, Marlene told herself mail was slow. Then another week passed, then another. A pharmacy notice arrived for Adrian, a credit card offer came for Serena, utility bills came in Adrian's name, but nothing came for Marlene. When she asked Adrian about it, he barely looked up from his laptop. "I changed the mailing address," he said. Marlene stood by the kitchen sink, one hand still wet from washing a cup. "You changed what?" "Your bank mail," he kept typing. "It was going to the old house. That's not practical. If something important comes, you might miss it. I still go by the house. Not often enough." She dried her hands slowly. "Adrian, you should have asked me." That made him stop, not fully, just enough for his fingers to pause above the keys. "I did it to help, I understand. But those are my statements." He finally looked at her. His face was calm, but his eyes were not soft. "And I'm the one handling your bills while Serena is overseas. If something gets missed, who do you think she will blame?" Marlene opened her mouth, then closed it. That was how Adrian did it. He never pushed with both hands at once. He leaned, just enough to make a person lose balance and then feel embarrassed for nearly falling. "I only want to know where my mail is going," she said. "To a secure box at the UPS store. I'll pick it up twice a week." He shut the laptop halfway. "Marlene, we talked about this. You said you wanted things organized," she had said that, or something like it. In a tired moment, with papers all over the table and Serena's deadline pressing down on all of them, she had nodded while Adrian explained accounts and folders and passwords. She remembered saying she did not want Serena worrying from London. Now those words were being handed back to her like a signed confession. "Okay," she said quietly. Adrian smiled again. "Good. I knew you'd understand." By then, the apartment had changed around Marlene too. When Serena left, Marlene had been given the spare room. It was small, but it had a window and a narrow closet. She kept her clothes folded in one drawer, her medicines on the nightstand, and Serena's framed graduation photo on the dresser. Then Adrian said he needed to rent the room temporarily to a traveling consultant he knew through work. Just a few months, he said. Extra income. London was expensive. Serena needed support. "I can sleep on the couch," Marlene offered. No, Adrian said. "You need privacy." That was how he moved her to the basement. He called it the lower room. It had a concrete floor, a half window near the ceiling, and a space heater that made a clicking sound before it warmed up. There were storage bins stacked against one wall, and an old exercise bike Adrian never used. He put a cot near the laundry machines and said it was temporary. Marlene stood at the bottom of the stairs and looked around. "It's colder down here," she said. "I'll get another blanket." He did. One thin grey blanket from a closet. The consultant never arrived. The spare room stayed empty for 2 weeks. Then Adrian put a desk in it, then a printer, then 2 monitors. One evening, Marlene came upstairs and saw him sitting in that room with the door open, speaking into a headset about shipping routes and startup costs. She understood then. It had never been for a tenant. It had been for him. But she said nothing, because every complaint felt like stealing strength from Serena. Every discomfort felt small compared to what her daughter was trying to build across the ocean. At night, Marlene sat on the cot and listened to the washing machine run above her head. Sometimes she held her phone and waited for Serena's name to appear, but the phone felt different now. Calls dropped often, messages sent slowly. Once, when she tried to text Serena, the screen flashed an error she did not understand. The next morning, Adrian offered to fix it. He kept the phone for almost an hour. When he returned it, he said, "You had settings messed up." "I didn't touch any settings. You probably did by accident." He gave a small laugh. "These phones get complicated." Marlene took it back, ashamed of the heat rising in her face. She was not foolish. She had run a business for nearly 20 years. She had negotiated leases, filed taxes, hired repairmen, argued with insurance companies, and raised Serena without help. But Adrian had a way of making her feel old in the worst way, not respected old, not wise old, just inconvenient. A month later, he asked for her debit card. "Just for groceries and prescriptions," he said. "It makes no sense for you to walk around with it. I can buy my own things, of course you can. But I'm already out during the day. Why should you stand in lines with your blood pressure?" She hesitated. He softened his voice. Serena would want me to make things easier for you. That was the sentence he used most. Serena would want this. Serena would worry about that. Serena needed peace. Serena needed focus. Serena had sacrificed too much to be distracted by small problems back home, so Marlene handed him the card. The small things disappeared first: her favorite tea, then fresh fruit, then the brand of blood pressure medication her doctor preferred, replaced by a cheaper version that made her dizzy. Adrian said the pharmacy changed it. When she asked for the receipt, he told her she was becoming suspicious. "I'm not suspicious," she said. "Then why do you keep asking for proof?" Because proof was all she had left, but she did not know how to say that. One afternoon, Adrian brought home a stack of forms. He set them on the kitchen table with a pen and a careful smile. "Insurance update," he said. "Some medical authorization stuff. It'll let me help if anything happens." Marlene put on her reading glasses. The print was small, too small. Legal words crowded the page. Durable, authority, financial institution, agent, real property. She read the first line twice and still felt unsure. "This looks bigger than insurance." "It's standard language," Adrian said. "They always make it sound dramatic. I should ask someone." His face changed, only for a second. Then the hurt came back, polished and ready. "Ask who, Michael? Serena's friend who already thinks I'm stealing from you?" "I didn't say that." "No, but that's what this means." He leaned back. "Marlene, I left work early to handle this. I'm doing the things your daughter can't do because she's overseas. If you don't trust me, fine. Tell Serena. Let her come home." The thought struck Marlene deep. Serena returning because of her. Serena losing London because Marlene could not manage paperwork. Serena looking at her with love, but also with that hidden disappointment daughters tried not to show. Marlene picked up the pen. "I only want everything to be okay," she whispered. "It will be," Adrian said. She signed. Across the street, Denise Walker saw more than Adrian knew. Denise was in her late 50s, a retired transit clerk who watched the block from behind lace curtains and missed very little. She had seen Marlene sitting alone on the front steps in a coat too thin for the weather. She had seen Adrian leave early and return late with take-out bags Marlene never seemed to eat from. She had seen the old woman walk to the corner pharmacy, then come back empty-handed, moving slowly. One Saturday, Denise crossed the street with a covered dish and knocked. Adrian answered. "I brought something for Marlene," Denise said. His smile was polite. "That's kind, but she's resting. I can wait. She's not up for visitors." From the basement, Marlene heard Denise's voice and stood. She climbed halfway up the stairs, one hand on the rail. "I'm here," she called. Adrian turned his head. The look he gave her stopped her before she reached the top. Not angry. Warning. Then he opened the door wider, just enough for Denise to see Marlene on the stairs. "She's been confused lately," Adrian said lightly. "Good days and bad days. We're handling it." Marlene felt the words hit her face like cold water, confused. Denise looked past him. Her eyes met Marlene's. Something passed between the two women, not proof, not yet, but recognition. Later that night, Marlene found an old spiral notebook in one of the storage bins. It had belonged to Serena years ago, used for budgeting and grocery lists. Half the pages were blank. Marlene took a pen and wrote the date. Then she wrote, "Adrian changed bank mail without asking." She paused, listening to his footsteps above her. Then she wrote another line. "Moved me to basement, said temporary." It was not. Her hand shook, but she kept writing. The notebook became the one place where nobody interrupted her. No one corrected her memory. No one told her she misunderstood. Days passed. She wrote everything she could. The missing card, the strange forms, the changed medication, the calls that would not go through. One evening, while carrying a trash bag from the kitchen to the bin outside, Marlene saw a crumpled page near the top. She might have ignored it, but Serena's name caught her eye. She pulled it out carefully. It was not a full letter, just a printed draft from Adrian's email, maybe tossed away because of a typo. "Serena, your mom had another hard day. She says speaking to you makes the pain worse. I think she's carrying resentment because you left. Please don't push her to talk. She needs distance to heal." Marlene's knees nearly gave out. She read it again, then again. The words blurred, but one thing became clear. Adrian was not just keeping Serena from worrying. He was teaching Serena to believe her own mother did not want her anymore. Marlene folded the printed draft and hid it inside her notebook. For 2 days, she carried it against her chest like a wound no one could see. She moved through Adrian's apartment quietly. She washed her own cup. She made her bed on the cot. She counted her pills. She listened to his footsteps above her and tried to understand how a person could smile at dinner and erase someone by email before morning. The worst part was not the cold basement. It was not the missing mail. It was not even the debit card she no longer held. The worst part was the thought of Serena reading those words and believing them. Serena sitting alone in London, carrying guilt that did not belong to her. Serena thinking her own mother needed distance from her. That thought kept Marlene awake more than hunger ever could. She tried again to call from the corner grocery store. The owner, Mr. Patel, was a tired man in his 60s who had known Marlene since the laundry days. He let her use the landline because he remembered how she used to wash aprons for his deli counter and never charged extra when the stains were bad. "You okay, Miss Cole?" he asked as she dialed. "Yes," Marlene said too quickly. "Just calling my daughter." The phone rang once, then silence. Marlene held the receiver tighter. "Hello?" Nothing. Mr. Patel watched from behind the counter. "Line dropped?" "I think so." She tried again. This time the call would not go through at all. A recorded voice said the number could not be completed as dialed. Marlene knew then that something had been done. She did not know the technical part. She did not need to. She had lived long enough to recognize a locked door when one stood in front of her. When she returned to the apartment, Adrian was waiting. He stood in the kitchen with his arms folded, her phone on the table between them. Not the old one she thought she had hidden in her purse, her current one. The one he had fixed, the one that no longer seemed to belong to her. "Where were you?" he asked. "At the store, calling who?" Marlene went still. Adrian picked up her phone and turned the screen toward her. "You think I don't see what you're doing?" Her mouth went dry. "I wanted to hear my daughter's voice." "And what were you going to tell her?" "The truth." He laughed once. Not loudly, that would have been easier to bear. This was worse, a small laugh, almost disappointed. "The truth," he repeated. "The truth is Serena is in London because you wanted to play hero. You sold your business. You made a big sacrifice. Fine. But now she's there, and she's doing well because I'm keeping things stable here." "Stable?" Marlene looked toward the basement stairs. "You moved me below the laundry machines. You had a place to sleep. You took my mail. I organized your mail. You took my card. I bought your medicine. You lied to Serena. That one landed." His face hardened so quickly that Marlene stepped back before she meant to. Adrian lowered his voice. "Be careful." For the first time, Marlene saw clearly that his kindness had never been kindness. It had been a door, and every time she trusted him, he had shut it behind her. "I am going to tell her," she said. "No," Adrian said, "you're not." He took the phone from the table and slipped it into his pocket. Marlene stared at him. "That is mine. Not until you calm down. I am not a patient in this house. No, you are a woman with no income, no business, no working car, and no idea how much it costs to keep a roof over your head." His voice stayed even. That made it crueler. "So maybe stop acting like everyone owes you something." She did not answer. There were moments when pain was so direct that the body had no room for words. That night, Marlene wrote everything in the notebook. She wrote with the blanket over her shoulders, her fingers stiff from cold. Adrian took phone, blocked calls, said "I have no income," said "stop acting owed." She stopped after that because the next line was too hard to write. "I am afraid." 2 weeks later, Adrian moved. He did not tell Marlene. Not properly. He began packing boxes upstairs while pretending it was office equipment. Then one morning he said he had found a cheaper place in the suburbs and they needed to reset expenses. Marlene asked where. He said he would explain later. Later never came. The day everything broke, Marlene had a clinic appointment. Denise drove her. Adrian did not like it, but he could not stop it without looking exactly like the man he was trying not to appear to be. So he smiled at Denise from the doorway and told her Marlene had been forgetful lately. Denise smiled back with no warmth. Then it's good she has someone taking notes. At the clinic, Marlene gave her name, date of birth, and old address. The receptionist frowned at the computer. "Your insurance contact information was updated," she said. Marlene gripped her purse. "Updated to what?" The receptionist looked uncomfortable. "I'm not allowed to print the full information without ID verification, but there is a different mailing address and a different authorized contact." Denise looked at Marlene. Marlene felt the room tilt slightly. She had identification, but not everything. Some documents were still in Adrian's box, the box he had promised to keep safe. The box she had not seen in months. After the appointment, Denise offered to take Marlene to lunch. Marlene said no. She wanted to go home. She wanted to get her notebook. She wanted to find the box. She wanted, for once, to stop being polite with the person who had been quietly stealing the ground beneath her feet. When they reached the apartment, the front door key did not work. Marlene tried once, then again. The lock had been changed. Denise stepped closer. Maybe he's inside. Marlene knocked. No answer. She knocked harder. Still nothing. A neighbor from the second floor came out with a trash bag and paused. You looking for Adrian? Marlene turned. Yes. The woman's face shifted with pity. He moved out yesterday. Truck came in the afternoon. Marlene stared at her. No, she said. The woman looked down. I thought you knew. Marlene stood there with her clinic papers in one hand and her useless key in the other. Behind that door were her clothes, her notebook, her medications, the papers she had not been able to copy, and the last small pieces of a life she could still identify as hers. Denise started making calls. She called the landlord. She called Adrian's number. She called the police non-emergency line and explained that an older woman had been locked out of a residence where she had been staying. The officer who arrived listened, took notes, and said it sounded like a civil issue unless Marlene could prove tenancy or immediate danger. Marlene understood the look on his face. Not cruel, limited. The kind of look people gave when the system had a box for your pain, but the box was too small. Denise offered her couch for the night. Marlene almost said yes. But shame is a strange thing. It can make a person refuse help they desperately need. Marlene saw Denise's small apartment in her mind, the narrow hallway, the recliner, the medications Denise herself kept near the kitchen window. She thought of becoming another burden in another person's house. I'll go to the shelter, Marlene said. Denise argued. Marlene thanked her, then argued back with the quiet firmness that once kept a laundry business alive through bad winters. The shelter near Center City gave Marlene a bed for 3 nights. They were kind but full, always full. The woman at intake asked for identification, medical information, emergency contacts, proof of income, past addresses. Marlene answered what she could. Too many answers led back to papers Adrian had kept. When the 3 nights ended, she was referred to another program. That one had a waiting list. Another place had no beds. Another asked for documents she no longer had. So Marlene moved from chairs to waiting rooms, from waiting rooms to church basements, from church basements to the underpass near the outreach center. At first, she told herself it was temporary. She still washed her face in public restrooms. She folded her clothes at night and placed them beneath her head so they would not be stolen. She helped other adults sort donated coats. She rinsed plastic cups in a basin after soup service because sitting still made her feel less human. Some people called her Lena because that was the name she gave when she was too tired to explain Marlene Cole. Weeks thinned into months. Her shoes split, her cardigan faded. Her hands, once rough from laundry work, grew rough in a different way, colder, more exposed, and through all of it, Serena's number remained unreachable. Michael Reeves saw her for the first time during a winter outreach shift under the bridge. He did not recognize her, not then. She was bent over a plastic basin, sleeves pushed up, washing donated cups while other adults lined up for hot meals. Her gray hair was tucked beneath a knit cap. Her face was thinner than the woman he remembered from Serena's old photos. But something about her made him look twice. Not her poverty, her care. She washed each cup like it mattered. Like even a donated thing deserved to be clean before touching someone's mouth. Like dignity could still live in small motions when the world had taken everything large. Mom, Michael said gently, crouching beside her. You need gloves, that water's cold. She looked up. For 1 second her eyes met his. He felt something pull at the edge of memory. I'm all right, she said. Give the gloves to someone who needs them. Michael stood slowly, still watching her. Then he saw it. On her wrist, half hidden beneath the damp sleeve, was a thin gold bracelet, tarnished now, bent slightly, but unmistakable. Years earlier, Serena had shown him a picture on her phone. Her mother behind the laundry counter, laughing, that same bracelet catching the light. Michael's chest tightened. He walked back to the outreach van and opened the intake tablet with cold fingers. He searched the name she had given, Lena. No last name listed at first. Then he opened the deeper notes from the previous month. Date of birth, old neighborhood, emergency contact blank. Scar near left wrist. Possible name, Marlene. Michael stopped breathing. He looked back across the underpass. The woman was still washing cups, still making herself useful, still invisible to almost everyone passing by. Michael took out his phone, found Serena's old international number, and dialed before he could talk himself out of it. When she answered, he did not say hello. He said, "Don't tell Adrian. Book the first flight you can. Serena, I think I found your mother." Serena did not remember packing her suitcase. She remembered Michael's voice. She remembered the words, "Don't tell Adrian." She remembered standing in her London apartment with one hand pressed against the kitchen counter, trying to keep her knees from giving out. After that, everything came in broken pieces. A cancelled meeting, a rushed ticket, a black coat pulled from the closet, her passport in her shaking hand. The airport lights, the long flight, the awful silence above the Atlantic. By then, Serena Cole was no longer the broke graduate student who had left Philadelphia years earlier. She had become a finance director at a private investment firm in London. She wore tailored coats now. She spoke in boardrooms with people who measured risk in millions. She understood wire transfers, shell companies, asset movement, and the quiet language of money. She had built a life that looked strong from the outside, but on that flight home, none of it mattered. She kept opening her phone and reading old messages from her mother's number. "I am fine, baby. Do not worry. Focus on school." Every sentence now looked like a locked room. Serena had not told Adrian she was coming. She had not texted him. She had not called. For the first time in years, she let silence sit between them and did not rush to explain it away. Michael had begged her to do that much. "If he knows you're coming," he had said, "he'll move faster than we can." So she landed in Philadelphia with only one suitcase, one carry-on, and a fear so deep it made the city look unreal. Michael was waiting near arrivals. He looked older than she remembered. His hair was shorter, his face was thinner. The non-profit hoodie from his video calls had been replaced with a dark jacket, but his eyes were the same. Tired, kind, serious in a way that made Serena's stomach drop before he said anything. He hugged her carefully, like he was afraid she might break. "Is it really her?" Serena asked. Michael did not answer right away. That silence was enough. "Serena back. Say it." "I believe it is," he said. "Her name in the outreach records is incomplete. She uses Lena sometimes, but the date of birth matches, the old neighborhood matches, the scar matches, and the bracelet." He swallowed. "Serena, I saw the bracelet from that photo you showed me years ago." Serena closed her eyes. For a moment, she was back in the laundry shop, watching Marlene laugh behind the counter, the thin gold bracelet flashing when she lifted a stack of folded shirts. Her mother had worn that bracelet every day, not because it was expensive, because Serena had bought it for her after her first full-time paycheck. "Take me to her," Serena said. Michael hesitated. "You need to be ready." "I'm not going to be ready. She may not recognize you right away. Trauma does things to people, so does living outside. She's weak. She gets startled. If you rush her, she might shut down." Serena nodded, but her face had gone pale. "I'm telling you because I care about both of you," Michael said. "When we get there, let her see you before you touch her. Speak slowly. Don't ask for the whole truth all at once." Serena almost laughed. There was nothing funny in it. For years she had handled investors who lied with clean shirts and steady voices. She had sat across from men who hid losses behind polished slides. She knew how to wait for evidence. She knew how to stay calm when money was moving badly. But this was her mother. Calm felt impossible. They drove from the airport towards Center City. Philadelphia passed by the window in pieces. Warehouses, row homes, corner stores, rain-dark sidewalks, buildings she had known and not known, all at once. Serena watched everything with a strange rising dread. She had sent money to this city. Every month. Money for rent, money for food, money for medicine, money for a new laundry space, money for comfort, money for the woman who had sold everything so Serena could become someone. And somewhere in this same city, her mother had been washing cups under a bridge. Michael parked near the outreach center, not too close. The air smelled like wet concrete, exhaust and soup from a folding table set up beneath the overpass. Adult volunteers moved between coolers and storage bins. A line of unhoused adults waited quietly, some wrapped in coats, some holding plastic bags, some staring ahead with the emptied look of people who had learned not to expect much. Serena stepped out of the car. Her black shoes touched the pavement. For a second, shame hit her so hard she almost could not move, not because of where she was, because of what she was wearing, the coat, the watch, the suitcase in Michael's trunk, all the signs of a life that had risen while her mother's life had been stripped down to survival. Michael stood beside her. There Serena followed his eyes. At first she saw only a grey-haired woman bending over a plastic basin. The woman was small inside a coat too large for her. Her sleeves were pushed up, her hands moved through cold water, rinsing donated cups one by one. Beside her sat a torn canvas bag and a folded blanket. Serena's mind refused it. No, that could not be Marlene. Marlene had strong shoulders. Marlene had quick hands and a voice that filled a laundry room. Marlene stood straight when life tried to bend her. Marlene never let herself look invisible. Then the woman turned slightly. The sleeve slipped back, and Serena saw the scar near the wrist. A small pale line from an accident at the laundry years ago, when a metal dryer latch had snapped and cut her mother's skin. Serena knew that scar. She had cleaned it herself after work one evening while Marlene joked that machines had no respect for honest women. Serena's breath broke. "Mama," she whispered. Michael touched her arm, slowly, but Serena was already walking. Not running, she could not run, her body would not allow it. She moved as if each step had to pass through years of lies first. The woman at the basin looked up when Serena came near. Her eyes were cloudy with exhaustion, wary, polite in the way people became polite when they had been dismissed too often. "Mom," Serena said, and her voice cracked. The woman blinked. Serena lowered herself to the wet pavement, not caring about her coat. "Mama." The cup slipped from Marlene's hand into the basin. For a few seconds, she only stared. Then her eyes moved across Serena's face, the mouth, the cheekbones, the shape of the eyes that Marlene had once looked at across a kitchen table in South Philadelphia. Her lips parted. "No," she whispered. Serena pressed both hands to her chest. "It's me, it's Serena." Marlene shook her head slowly, not in denial, in fear. Like hope was a trick she had learned not to trust. "My Serena is in London. I came home. She doesn't know where I am, I know now. That broke something." Marlene made a sound Serena had never heard from her before. Not a cry, not a scream, something smaller and more wounded. She reached out but stopped halfway, looking down at her own hands as if they were too dirty to touch her daughter. Serena saw that and moved first. She took Marlene's hands into hers. They were cold, rough, too light. "I'm sorry," Serena said. Marlene began trembling. "I tried to call you," she whispered. "I tried, I promise I tried. I know I didn't stop loving you, I know, Mama. I didn't want distance." Serena shook her head, tears falling freely now, "I know." Michael looked away, giving them what privacy he could under a bridge full of witnesses and pain. Around them people kept moving. Cups were filled, soup was served, cars passed overhead. The city continued, almost cruelly normal. But Serena's world had stopped. She helped Marlene stand slowly. Marlene tried to gather the cups, still thinking of the work she had been doing. Serena gently took them from her. "No," she said, "you're done with this." Marlene looked embarrassed. "I help here, I know." Serena swallowed hard. "But not today." Michael spoke to the outreach coordinator, who nodded with quiet understanding. They gathered Marlene's canvas bag and blanket. Serena held them herself. She would not let anyone else carry what remained of her mother's life. They did not go to Adrian. They did not go to any house Serena had paid for. Michael drove them to a quiet hotel near Rittenhouse Square. In the lobby, Marlene froze beneath the warm lights. The marble floor, the clean furniture, the soft music near the front desk, all of it seemed to frighten her more than the bridge. "Serena," she whispered, "I can't stay here." "Yes, you can. I don't look right." Serena turned to her, heart splitting open all over again. "You look like my mother." In the room, Marlene stood by the bed and would not sit until Serena did first. She kept looking at the white sheets like they might reject her. Serena ordered soup, tea, and warm towels. Then she sat at her mother's feet and helped remove the split shoes. Marlene tried to pull away. "Don't," Serena said softly. "Please don't hide from me." Her mother stopped. The socks underneath were damp. Serena saw the swollen ankles, the bruised skin near the heel, the places where poverty had written itself on Marlene's body without permission. She pressed one hand over her mouth. Marlene looked ashamed. I didn't want you to see me like this. Serena looked up at her. I needed to see the truth. Later, after Marlene ate half a bowl of soup and wrapped the bread roll in a napkin out of habit, Serena opened her laptop. She did not want to do it yet, but the questions were already crowding the room. Mama, she said carefully, Adrian told me you were living comfortably. He told me you didn't want calls. He told me the money was helping you. Marlene's face changed. No. Serena turned the screen toward her. There was a photo Adrian had sent months earlier. A neat brick house with a blue door and flower boxes under the windows. He had written beneath it, "Your mom's new place." She cried when she saw it. Marlene leaned closer. Her hands began to shake again. Serena waited. Marlene stared at the image for a long time. Then she looked at her daughter with a kind of pain that made the room feel smaller. "I have never been inside that house," she whispered. "Serena, I have never even seen it before." Serena did not sleep that night. Marlene slept because her body had finally found a warm room, a locked door, and a mattress that did not belong to a shelter. Even then, she did not sleep peacefully. Twice, Serena heard her mother whisper in the dark. Once, Marlene reached toward the edge of the bed as if checking whether her canvas bag was still there. Serena sat in the chair by the window with her laptop open, the city glowing below. Philadelphia looked calm from up there. Streetlights, passing cars, wet pavement shining after rain. It was almost offensive how normal everything looked. On the table in front of her were years of her own bank records. Transfers to Adrian, transfers marked mom's medication, transfers marked house deposit, transfers marked new laundry space, transfers marked emergency repairs. Every line had once made Serena feel responsible. Now every line looked like evidence. By sunrise, Michael arrived with coffee and a hard drive. He came quietly, not wanting to startle Marlene. Serena opened the door before he knocked twice. "She's still sleeping," Serena said. "That's good." She kept waking up to check her bag. Michael's face tightened. That happens. When someone has lived outside, sleep doesn't come back all at once. Serena looked toward the bed where Marlene lay curled on her side beneath clean white sheets. Her mother looked smaller than memory, not weak in spirit, just worn down by too many days of having to survive the next hour. "I want to go to Adrian today," Serena said. "No." Her eyes snapped back to Michael. "No?" "No," he repeated softer. "Not yet. He did this, I know. He stole from her. He stole from me. He left her under a bridge." "I know," Michael said again. "And if you go to him today, he'll deny everything, destroy what he can, and make you look unstable because you just found your mother in a crisis." Serena hated that he was right. She turned back to the table, her hands pressed flat against the wood. "Then what do? We build the paper trail." That morning, Michael called someone he trusted at Harbor Path Outreach. By noon, he had copies of Marlene's intake records, outreach notes, shelter referrals, and meal service logs. Not private medical details. Just the documented trail that showed when Marlene first appeared in the system and how long she had been living without stable housing. Serena read the first record and felt sick. Adult female, approximate age late 60s, user's name Lena, reports loss of document, reports inability to contact family, declines extended interview, appears cold, alert, ashamed. That word cut deeper than Serena expected. Her mother had been starving, displaced, and cut off from help, and the note that survived was ashamed. Michael sat across from her. "These records matter. They show she didn't appear yesterday. They show a timeline." Serena nodded slowly. "A timeline Adrian said didn't exist." Marlene woke in the early afternoon. She looked frightened at first, then saw Serena and tried to sit up too quickly. "Easy," Serena said, helping her. Marlene looked at the papers on the table. Her face changed, the old fear came back. "I don't want trouble," she said. Serena knelt beside the bed. "Mama, trouble already happened. We're trying to bring truth into it." Marlene looked down at her hands. "When you are old and people say you are confused, you start wondering if maybe you are." Serena closed her eyes for 1 second. Then she took her mother's hands. "You are not confused." Marlene's lips trembled. "I wrote things down." Serena went still. "What things?" "My notebook." Marlene looked toward the canvas bag near the chair. "I kept it when I could. Dates, things he said, things he took, but I lost it when he locked me out." Serena's hope fell. Then Marlene shook her head. "Not all of it." She reached into the bag with shaking fingers and pulled out a folded grocery receipt, then another. Then small scraps of paper, torn corners of envelopes, napkins, the back of a clinic appointment card. On each one, in Marlene's careful handwriting, were dates and short notes. Changed mail. No card. Medication different. Called Serena. Blocked. Door lock changed. Adrian said I have no income. Serena took the scraps like they were sacred. Michael stared at them quietly. This helps. It is messy, Marlene whispered. No, Michael said. It's memory fighting back. By late afternoon, Serena had contacted a civil attorney named Nora Bell, a sharp, steady woman recommended by one of Serena's London colleagues who had handled elder financial exploitation cases in Pennsylvania. Nora agreed to meet them that evening at the hotel. She arrived in a dark coat, carrying a slim leather bag and no unnecessary sympathy. Serena liked her immediately. Nora greeted Marlene first. Not Serena, not Michael, Marlene. Mrs. Cole, she said, sitting where Marlene could see her clearly. I'm here to help you understand your options, not to pressure you. If you want me to stop at any point, I stop. Marlene looked surprised by that. Respect, Serena realized, had become unfamiliar to her mother. Nora reviewed the documents slowly. The wire transfers, the fake photos, the outreach records, the scraps of notes, the old scanned documents Serena had saved before leaving for London, the deed to Marlene's row home, the partial copy of the forms Marlene remembered signing. When Nora reached the bank records Serena had pulled from her own accounts, her face hardened just enough for Serena to notice. These transfers went to your husband's personal account? Yes, Serena said. At first. Later he asked me to use a business account. He said it was easier for contractors and household expenses. Business name? Veilbridge Logistics. Nora wrote it down. Did your mother authorize business use of her assets? Marlene looked confused. Business use? Nora's voice stayed gentle. Did you sign anything that allowed Adrian to use your name, property, or credit to support his company? No. Then Marlene hesitated. I signed medical papers, or he said they were medical papers. Nora looked at Serena. There it was, the quiet turn in the room, not an emotional guess anymore. A legal door opening. The next day moved fast, but not recklessly. Nora ordered certified property records from the city. She requested copies of recorded documents connected to Marlene's house. Serena pulled every wire transfer she had made since leaving Philadelphia and organized them by date, amount, memo, receiving account, and Adrian's explanations. Michael got signed letters from the outreach center confirming Marlene's contact with services. Denise agreed to give a written statement about seeing Marlene isolated, denied visitors, and locked out. Marlene went to a clinic for a full checkup. Serena sat beside her the whole time. When the nurse asked for emergency contact information, Marlene looked at Serena before answering. My daughter, she said. 2 words. They nearly broke Serena again. That evening Nora called. I found something, she said. Serena put the phone on speaker. Marlene sat on the hotel couch with a blanket around her shoulders. Michael stood near the window, arms folded. Nora's voice was controlled but tight. Adrian filed documents using a power of attorney that appears to grant him broad financial authority over Marlene's accounts and real property. It was notarized about 7 months after Serena left for London. Marlene's face drained of color. I don't remember that. You may remember signing papers he told you were for insurance or medical support, Nora said. Marlene covered her mouth. Serena's hand curled into a fist. What did he do with it? There was a loan application tied to Veilbridge Logistics, Nora continued. Marlene's row home was listed as supporting collateral. Her name appears as guarantor. The room went silent. Marlene stared at the phone like it had spoken in another language. Guarantor? She whispered. Serena stood slowly. He put debt on her? It appears that way, Nora said. I need complete bank and loan records to confirm, but yes, this is bigger than stolen support money. If these documents were obtained through deception or forged beyond what she understood, we may be looking at fraud, identity misuse, and elder financial exploitation. Michael looked at Serena. Serena was no longer crying. That frightened him more. Her voice came out low and clear. What do you need from me? Everything, Nora said. And patience. Do not confront him yet. Keep communication normal if he contacts you. Let him repeat the lies in writing. As if summoned by the words, Serena's phone buzzed on the table. Adrian. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Serena picked it up. A text message filled the screen. Hey love, haven't heard from you today. Your mom had a good morning. She's resting now. The new place is really helping her mood. Marlene stared at the message. Her breathing changed. Serena looked at her mother. Then at Nora's name still glowing on the call screen, another buzz came. Also, big week here. I'm announcing the company expansion at a private investor event Friday. Wish you could be here. Everything we built is finally paying off. Serena read it once, then again. Nora's voice came through the speaker, quiet and sharp. Serena, where is that event? The investor event was held at a boutique hotel in Center City, in a ballroom with tall windows and lights soft enough to make every lie look elegant. Adrian had chosen the room carefully. Serena saw that the moment she stepped out of the elevator. The marble entryway, the black tablecloths, the silver signs with Veilbridge Logistics printed in clean blue letters, the framed renderings of trucks, warehouses, and delivery routes along the wall. Everything looked polished, ambitious, respectable. Everything looked paid for. Serena stood near the entrance in a black suit, her hair pulled back, her face calm enough to frighten Michael. Nora Bell stood beside her with a leather folder under one arm. Michael stayed slightly behind Marlene, not touching her, just close enough that she knew someone was there if her legs weakened. Marlene wore a simple navy dress Serena had bought her that morning. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive looking, just clean, warm, dignified. Her grey hair had been gently combed back, the gold bracelet, still bent and tarnished, rested on her wrist. She had asked to wear it. Serena had understood why. Before they entered, Marlene stopped. Through the open ballroom doors, they could hear applause. A man's voice filled the room, smooth, confident, familiar enough to make Marlene's shoulders tighten. Adrian, Serena turned to her mother. We can wait outside if you want. Marlene looked through the doorway. No, she said softly. I lived outside long enough, that was all. They went in. At the front of the room, Adrian stood beside a screen showing the Veilbridge logo. He wore a charcoal suit Serena had never seen before. His hair was neatly trimmed. His smile was bright. The kind of smile that belonged in photographs with investors and bank officers and people who believed success proved character. And when I started this company, Adrian was saying, I had nothing but discipline, faith, and a belief that logistics could serve communities often ignored by larger firms. Serena almost laughed, not because it was funny, because the lie was dressed so well. Around the room, adult investors and business partners listened with glasses in their hands. A few nodded. A woman in an ivory dress stood near the front, watching Adrian with pride so open it made Serena's stomach twist. Camille. Nora had found her name through public filings and social media posts connected to Veilbridge. Camille Rhodes, event consultant, Adrian's partner in more ways than one. The woman had appeared in company photos, charity dinners, and local business features. In every caption, Adrian had been described as a widower or a man rebuilding after a painful separation. Serena had read the articles twice. By the second reading, she no longer felt surprised. She felt cold. Adrian continued speaking. This expansion is not just about trucks and contracts. It is about legacy. It is about turning sacrifice into opportunity. Marlene flinched at that word, sacrifice. Serena reached for her hand. Adrian looked across the room then. At first his eyes passed over them, then they snapped back. His voice stopped, not faded, stopped. The room noticed. Heads turned slowly. A few people followed his gaze toward the entrance. Adrian's face lost color in stages. First surprise, then confusion, then something close to fear. He looked at Serena, then Michael, then Nora, then his eyes landed on Marlene. For 1 second he looked like a man seeing a person step out of a grave he had dug himself. Camille moved toward him. Adrian? He did not answer. Serena walked forward before the room could become loud. Her steps were steady. Michael stayed with Marlene. Nora followed, her folder held in front of her like a shield made of paper. Adrian found his voice at the last moment. Serena, he said, forcing a smile that had no life in it. This is unexpected. I know. He laughed lightly for the room. You should have told me you were flying in. I would have met you at the airport. You told me my mother was resting in her new place. The room shifted. Not loudly. Just a rustle, a change in attention. Adrian's eyes flicked to Marlene, then away. This isn't the place. No, Serena said. This is exactly the place you chose. A room full of people you wanted to impress with what you built. Camille looked from Adrian to Serena. Who are you? Serena turned to her. There was no cruelty in her face. Only exhaustion. My name is Serena Cole. I'm Adrian's legal wife. Camille went still. Someone near the bar whispered. Adrian's jaw tightened. Serena, he said sharply, stepping down from the small platform. You need to be careful. Nora stepped forward. Mr. Vale, I'm Nora Bell, counsel for Serena Cole and Marlene Cole. You were served electronic notice this afternoon regarding preservation of financial records, communications, and documents connected to Mrs. Cole's assets. Adrian stared at her. This is absurd. Nora opened the folder. Then it should be easy to resolve. Camille's face had gone pale. Adrian, what is she talking about? He turned to her quickly. Camille, don't engage with this. Serena looked at Camille. Did he tell you my mother was alive? Camille blinked. Your mother Marlene took one step forward. It was not dramatic. She did not shout. She did not raise her hand. She simply walked into the light. Camille saw her fully then, the older woman in the navy dress, thin, steady, holding herself together with a kind of dignity that made the room quieter. Adrian looked sick. He told me his mother-in-law had passed, Camille said slowly. Years ago, he said. She looked at Adrian. You said Serena abandoned the family after moving overseas. A small sound went through the room. Serena absorbed the words, but she looked at Adrian, not Camille. You told her my mother was dead? Adrian's face hardened. I told people what I needed to tell them to survive. Marlene's voice came then quiet but clear. Survive what, Adrian? He looked at her. The whole room seemed to hold its breath. Marlene stood beside Serena now. Not behind her, beside her. I washed cups under a bridge, she said. I slept in shelters. I lost my medicine. I lost my papers. I lost my home, and you stood here talking about sacrifice. Adrian's nostrils flared. You don't understand business. No, Marlene said, but I understand hunger. That landed harder than yelling would have. Camille stepped back from Adrian. Is this true? No, he snapped. This is emotional manipulation. Serena has been overseas for years. She doesn't know what happened here. Nora lifted one document. We have wire transfer records from Serena's accounts to your personal and business accounts. We have outreach records showing Marlene Cole was homeless during the same period you claimed she was living in a home purchased for her. We have statements from a neighbor. We have property filings showing Marlene's house was used in connection with a business loan. That's confidential, Adrian said. Nora's eyes sharpened. It is evidence. One of the investors, a gray-haired man in a navy blazer, put down his drink. Adrian, is Mrs. Cole a guarantor on the bridge loan? Adrian turned to him. Richard, this is not, is she? The man asked again. Adrian did not answer. That silence did more damage than a confession. Camille's voice shook. The house on Delancey Street. The one you said you bought before we met. Serena looked at her. Camille's eyes filled, but she held herself upright. He said it was part of the company's early success. Serena opened her phone and showed the same photo Adrian had once sent her, the brick house with the blue door. This is the house he told me belonged to my mother, Serena said. Camille took the phone with trembling fingers. Her face changed. I decorated that house, she whispered. Marlene looked away, not with anger, but with a pain too tired to perform. Adrian stepped toward Camille. Don't let them twist this. Camille pulled back as if his hand was something hot. No, she said, you twisted everything. The room had turned against him, not all at once. People were cautious. Business people always were. But the warmth had left their eyes. Phones were no longer raised for photos. Conversations had stopped. The screen behind Adrian still showed the Valebridge logo, bright and proud above a collapsing man. Then two people entered the ballroom. A woman in a dark blazer and a man with a badge clipped to his belt. They did not rush. They did not make a scene. That made their presence more frightening. Nora glanced at Serena. Detectives from the Financial Crimes Unit, she said softly. They agreed to observe after reviewing preliminary materials. I didn't know they'd come inside this soon. Adrian saw them and took one step back. The female detective approached him. Mr. Vale, we need to speak with you regarding a complaint involving suspected fraud and elder financial exploitation. Adrian's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time all night, he looked at Serena not like a husband, not like a businessman, not like a victim of misunderstanding. He looked at her like someone who finally understood that the woman he had lied to had come home with proof. Serena, he said, his voice low and desperate now. You don't understand everything. Serena looked at Marlene's hand in hers, then she looked back at him. No, she said, but I'm about to. Adrian was not taken away in front of the ballroom in handcuffs that night. Real justice did not move that fast. The detectives asked him to come with them for questioning. Nora handed over the preliminary complaint. The investors left quietly, one by one, carrying the kind of silence that destroys a reputation before any court date can. Camille did not leave with Adrian. She stood in the hotel hallway, with her arms wrapped around herself, staring at the floor as if it had opened beneath her. 2 days later, Veilbridge Logistics received a civil freeze order on several business accounts. Not everything, not permanently, but enough to stop money from moving while the court reviewed the records. Adrian's lawyer objected. Nora expected that. Serena expected that too. This was not revenge. It was paperwork, slow, cold, necessary. Within weeks, more truth surfaced. There were forged initials on loan documents. There were transfer memos Adrian had altered before forwarding them to Serena. There were emails where he described Marlene as mentally unstable, while using her name to support his company's credit. There were signatures that a document examiner said did not match Marlene's natural handwriting. Camille gave Nora copies of messages Adrian had sent her over the years. She did not make excuses for herself, but she did not pretend she had known everything either. Adrian had told her Serena had left the marriage behind. He had told her Marlene was gone. He had built one life on stolen money and another on carefully chosen lies. When Camille signed her statement, she only said one thing. I lived inside someone else's pain and called it success. Serena did not comfort her, but she did not hate her either. Some wounds were Adrian's doing, and Serena had no need to carry all of them. The criminal case moved forward slowly. Fraud, identity misuse, forgery, elder financial exploitation. Adrian was not ruined in a single dramatic moment. He was taken apart the way he had built the lie, page by page, transaction by transaction, signature by signature. Serena recovered only part of what had been lost. That was the first hard lesson after the truth came out. Money did not return just because pain was proven. Some accounts had been drained, some assets were tied up, some damages would take years to collect, if they ever came back at all. But through a civil judgment, a partial settlement, and an insurance claim tied to forged documents, Serena managed to recover enough to give Marlene something Adrian could not touch. A home. Not a mansion, not a showpiece. A small brick house on a quiet block with a clean kitchen, a front window and a porch just wide enough for 2 chairs. The deed carried one name, Marlene Cole. When Serena showed her the papers, Marlene held them carefully, as if paper could still betray her if touched too quickly. It's really mine? She asked. It's really yours, Serena said. No one else's? No one else's. Marlene did not cry right away. She pressed the deed flat on the table, ran her fingers over her own name, and closed her eyes. For a long time that was enough. A part-time caregiver named Ruth came 3 mornings a week, chosen by Marlene herself after meeting several candidates. Ruth was in her 50s, direct, patient, and never spoke to Marlene like she was helpless. She drove her to appointments. She helped organize medication. She made tea and accepted when Marlene insisted on washing the cups herself. Michael helped Serena create a small fund through Harbor Path Outreach for older adults facing financial exploitation. It paid for emergency documents, safe transportation, legal consultations, and temporary rooms for people who had nowhere to go while their cases were being sorted. Serena named it the Cole Dignity Fund. Marlene thought that was too much. Serena told her it was not enough. But healing did not begin with the fund, or the house, or the court filings. It began one evening on the porch. The weather was mild. The sky over Philadelphia had turned soft and gold. Marlene sat in one chair with a blanket over her knees. Serena sat beside her with 2 plates of food balanced on a small table between them. Nothing fancy. Chicken, rice, green beans, warm rolls. Marlene ate slowly. Halfway through, she wrapped one roll in a napkin and slipped it into the pocket of her cardigan. Serena saw it. She said nothing. Marlene noticed anyway. Shame moved across her face. I don't know why I still do that, she whispered. Serena looked at the napkin in her mother's pocket, then back at her face. You don't have to explain. I know there's food here. I know the door locks from the inside. I know, Mama. Marlene looked toward the quiet street. Her voice became smaller. The hardest part wasn't losing the house, or the laundry, or even sleeping outside. Serena waited. Marlene swallowed. The hardest part was thinking you believed I didn't want you anymore. Serena's face broke then. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just enough that all the strength she had been holding finally showed its cracks. I should have come sooner, she said. Marlene turned to her. Yes, the honesty hurt. Then Marlene reached for her hand. But you came. Those 3 words did not erase the years. They did not restore the laundry. They did not undo the nights beneath the bridge. But they opened a small space where both women could breathe. Serena held her mother's hand on that porch until the food went cold. From then on, she called less like someone checking a task off a list and more like someone coming home through a voice. Sometimes she flew back to Philadelphia. Sometimes Marlene visited London and walked slowly through Serena's apartment, touching the furniture as if reminding herself that her daughter's life was real. Adrian's case continued. He lost the company, the house he had lied about, and most of the people who once admired him. More than that, he lost the story he had told about himself. No speech, no suit, no polished room could give it back. Marlene never went back under the bridge. But once a month she visited Harbour Path with Serena and Michael. She did not go as a symbol. She went as herself. She sorted blankets. She labeled hygiene kits. She looked people in the eye when she handed them coffee because she knew what it meant to be seen too late. And if this story made you think of someone you have not called in a while, maybe call them today. Sometimes love is not only what we send. Sometimes it is showing up before silence becomes regret.